Hey, it's Bill Gross, the LA Probate Expert.com. And why do interest rates matter so much in real estate? And with all the excitement going on with the Fed, what's happening and what looks like it's happening in the housing market? Important questions to understand. So let's take a quick look at the changes just in the last week. 30-year fixed rate mortgages are up in the last week about a 0.25%. And this is where about 80% of the loans done in our market fall into the 30-year fixed rate category. There are some that are 15-year fixed, of course. And there's FHA loans also up a quarter. 30-year jumbo up a little bit less than that quarter, but still over 3%. And then 5/1 ARMs are up as well. But take a look at this graph on the far right. It shows you that we're at the far right, meaning we're at the high for the last 52 weeks. And if you look at the chart, you can see that we've bumped up dramatically. And it's almost a year ago before we were at these same kind of numbers. And before that, they had bumped up a continued downward spike. So what's happening is these rates, if they stay, now who knows, they stay, signal the end of the long-term interest rate decline we've enjoyed for the last year or two, and now we're in an uprising market. And what difference does that make? Well, it really affects people when they buy houses, and let me show you why that is. Well, before I go there, just to put in context, you can see that these are about the highest rates of the last 2 years or so. And even if you go beyond that spike, it takes you back over 2 years. So historically, this is a big number that we're talking about. Why is this so important? Well, but even before interest rates were rising last week, in December, the purchase index had slowed down. And so what's happening is we can see overall the amount of loans people are applying for to buy houses are way down from where they were earlier in the year. And so what does that mean to us in terms of our interest rate environment? Well, if people are refinancing more and purchase less, that means less people buying houses. The market might have a little less intensity on the slowdown. And here's the reason why. I saw an interesting article by Redfin that said that 47% of people would not be slowed down when it comes time to buying a property. But no, that's not true. This curve shows, and it's interactive if you use the link here, for any particular mortgage, what the payment is for a $3,500 payment for these $3,500 and the 20 and then $3,000, $2,500. And what you can find is when you go from 3.25% to 3.5%, that 0.25% increase in rate translates to about a $15,000 price difference of what somebody can afford. So if you want to buy a house and say the most I want to pay monthly is $3,500 on the mortgage, you go from maybe $690 to about $708, about an $18,000 difference. You say, was that a big deal? Well, if you were buying the house and your rate's not locked in, now in essence, you're getting the equivalent of $15,000, $17,000 less house. Or if you're shopping for a house at $715 now, at $700, it's going to cost you the equivalent of $715. So it's not life-changing, but at the margins, there'll be buyers who will be priced out of the market as a result. And so what happens is at the end of the day that this price scenario starts to put a pressure on the marketplace. Will the rates continue to go up? I don't know. A lot of talk about the Fed raising rates next year. Not sure what that means. But here's what I can say. Right now, there are things you can do. If you're in escrow right now, this is critical to you. If you're a seller, you want to get your buyer locked in, get those contingencies signed off by your buyer as quick as possible, and also find out if your buyer has a rate locked in or not. If you're buying a property, you want to make sure that your loan's been locked in. And if not, make sure either your contingencies are signed off or consider, if you can't get the rate you want, maybe this is a grounds for negotiation if the seller has dragged out the process. You know, for the last 2 years, it's been easy to sell houses. You put in the MLS, you get multiple bidders. As long as you're honest, you represent your seller. This is where professional agents earn their money, by negotiating deals, by getting the contracts locked in. And if you're the seller, getting the buyer to execute, and if you're representing the buyer, maybe giving them an out if they need it, and or negotiating concessions if they deserve it. So I'm not sure what's going to happen this week. I would say pay attention to the rates for sure Monday and Tuesday. But in the meantime, make sure you know where you are. If you're buying or selling property, you want to pay attention this week and make sure you don't get lost in the transaction. If I can help at all, call me, text me, or email me. My information is down below. And either way, make this your best week ever. Thanks so much.